Hello, friends. Welcome to this special edition of Magical Reawakening Radio. I released an episode on Friday, and that one I talked all about how the sun is currently in Libra, which is our card, Justice. And I realized that I really did want to talk a little bit about the full moon, which is happening as I'm releasing this on the 6th. Because I like talking about the full moon and I thought it'd be really important. I would have liked to have done it on the last episode, but instead you get a bonus. Woohoo! Okay, so because of the way the moons all work, when we have a full moon, it means that the moon is in the sign opposite of wherever the sun is. Now, our sun is in Libra, so that's Justice. If you have not listened to that episode, I highly recommend it. I talk all about the Justice card and how it carries a big sword and why this is important. Very important. Now, full moons. Full moons, when we think of our cycle, and I like to think of cycles like planting seeds. I feel like it's the most tangible way of kind of thinking about these things. A lot of people have at least watched a seed grow, right? And so it's a good visualization. So when a new moon is happening, that's our time of tending to the soil, clearing things out, and then planting the actual seed. And so we plant the seed at the new moon, and then it starts growing. And then the fruit of the thing that we are excited about is ready to be picked on the full moon because that's when the light is bright, right? And so then we're seeing the fruit. We're seeing how this is going. We're witnessing this exciting thing that we're creating. Sometimes people talk about clearing at the full moon, and it really think that clearing has gotten a little bit confused with like actually accepting and being excited about that thing. Harvesting is different than clearing, right? We can harvest the plant but then not necessarily clear out everything, because the plant still has a little bit more to do before we get ready. We're enjoying it until we get to that point where we then clear it out and plant new seeds. Another thing that we can think of is that we have kind of cycles as far as this goes. So there are a couple of different ways. We can look at just a 28-day cycle, so new moon to new moon. And then halfway through that is our 14-day cycle, so new moon to full moon, okay? And so that's in 1 month. But we can also consider the fact that we will have, the opposite, you could say, full moon when the sun is in Aries, okay? And so then you'd have the Libra full moon. And so you can kind of look at it at 6-month intervals as well, because it's like, okay, how are things going if I were to, so let's say we were to do something like plant seeds on a Libra new moon, then we could look all the way to the Libra full moon, and actually it's a larger cycle. So if we're thinking something's going to take a little bit longer than just, one moon cycle, we could actually consider 6 months if you wanted to look at it that way too, which is also very interesting to consider. And then obviously we can have a full year or even farther out than that. But and then you can do with the year. So then it's full moon to full moon. What were we doing? What were you harvesting last full moon? You could consider, in last October, early in the month, what was really going on that you were accepting in. So something to consider as we talk about this full moon. The other thing that I like to do is I like to consider the tarot in regards to it. So just like I talked about how Justice card is that card of the month for Libra season in the last episode, I would like to talk about how the Emperor is the card for Aries. Now we're saying that the full moon is in Aries, right? And so the Emperor is the card that is associated with Aries. So you can see that we've got our rams on the seat where the emperor sits. So that's our indicator of Aries, right? That's their zodiac sign. And Aries, for all the fire that Aries is, and Aries is full of fire, right? That's our very first fire sign in our zodiac. So it's our cardinal fire sign. And normally our cardinal signs are the ones that they are the brightest burning, right? And so it's that first thing where it's like, oh, that's in your face fire, okay? So for all the fire that Aries presents, right, the Emperor has a lot of earth on this card. And that's because we have to have a vessel to contain our fire. If we do not have something to actually contain the fire, then it could just burn out if it does not have the fuel to keep it going, or it could spread so much that it just goes wild and out of control. And so you really want that containment. The other interesting thing that I like to think of with the Emperor is we can also consider Aries as kind of like the baby zodiac sign, right? It's the first sign because our astrological year starts with Aries in the spring. So Aries kicks off our spring equinox. Okay, so the spring equinox marks the first day of Aries season. And so it's the very start. But even though it's the baby of the zodiac, we have to remember our calendar year, or our zodiac year may start then, but we always are considering cycles in both astrology and in tarot. So that means a new year is never we're not closing a book. Okay. It's not that a book is done and now we're starting a new book when the new cycle starts. No, it's a chapter, and each chapter plays on one another. So the Emperor, you can see, he has a big gray beard. He has armor on underneath. He has this ram that points to the past. Okay. So Aries may be the fire starting earliest sign of it all, but it comes with a lot of wisdom still. There is still this knowing that it's now bringing into this new cycle. And so there is definitely this level of, and if we approach Aries in this full moon with that fire passion, we can do it also from a way of structure. So the Emperor is my structure card. Many people consider it a structure card. It's the card that helps set the boundaries for the things that need to happen. It sets the stage. You then know where we're playing because of what energy the Emperor brings to it. Fours are about like boundaries and the walls that contain things, right? It's the structures of it all. I like to talk about riverbanks, right? If you don't have riverbanks, the river can't flow. And so you need that structure around everything for it to flow. And so, how does this all play into this full moon? So glad you asked. So, the full moon, again, like we said, an opportunity to really see what's going on. The moon is at its brightest point. We're seeing what's in front of us, what's possible for us, right? And then the Emperor is saying, and Aries is saying, look, this is a thing. Let's do the thing. Now, if we remember Libra season, justice is all about knowing our truth, knowing what we know. We know what we know, and we're seeing clearly what is that passion, what is that desire, what is it that we're going forward for? Where do we want to be our biggest, brightest, most passionate self, to stand in our truth? Okay, so this full moon, really consider how these two cards play together for you. Consider how that means. What does it mean for you if you were to consider these two together? This Aries Libra combination, knowing your truth and setting your fire out in the world, being your passionate, showing up for yourself, okay? Because that is what this full moon is really asking you to show up and do. And these are the two tarot cards that go with it, okay? And so I wanted to do just a quick little something so you could see these are the cards to think about this Aries full moon, okay? We are officially in fall. That happened. Just like I said, the Aries is our spring equinox. The start of Libra is our start of our fall equinox. So we are in fall. We are in this new season. We are in a time of harvest. We are in a time when things are starting to change intentionally, weather-wise, right? Things are slowing down. We're getting to that point where we're coming back to our truth. And this is actually that fantastic time to double check with ourselves. What is it that we want to bring to the world? How are we showing up? And what passion are we bringing out there? This full moon is a wonderful time to consider these things. So I invite you to sit with this, to sit with these thoughts, to consider the opportunities that are in front of you and what is it that you really want to show up and do. And that's it. That's the short and sweet. Here, how about we pull a card for this full moon? What support is the Emperor bringing us? I like that. What support do we have available to us as we go about our passion, our excitement, and seeing ourselves as we truly want to be seen? The Four of Swords. The Four, we got fours again. So we have our boundaries, we have our stability, we have our coming back to ourselves, okay? So this full moon, it's really a great opportunity to sit in meditation with yourself and sit with what you want to be and to show up as. And by choosing to sit with it on this full moon, it gives you a chance to really absorb and say, yeah, that is it. That is me. That is how I want to be showing up. Because if we're just running through it all, we may not catch what's coming. We may not actually fully catch what it is that we want to be understanding, right? I had said when we were talking about swords in the last episode, swords are our thoughts. And the thing about meditation is not an invitation to not think. It is an invitation to address your relationship to your thoughts. So really sit with this idea of what is it that I want to bring forth into the world and how can I do it? And just allow that to bubble up from within. Sit with it. And good luck with that, because we all need it. Sometimes we claim we're sitting with something and instead we're avoiding it. So do not use this to avoid. Use this to actually sit and meditate and consider, okay? We're getting contemplative, okay? We're not trying to meditate to clear our minds and never think again. We're contemplating what comes up when we sit and consider how do we want to show up in the world. So enjoy this big, beautiful, very energetic moon. And I will be back at the end of the week with a full episode of Magical Reawakening Radio. Bye for now.